What's up, everyone? I'm going to show you how to make the Stocksera SDK. I'm going to do a couple of functions to show you how it all works. This is going to be free market data that you can go and utilize at this website here. I'm going to link it in the description below. But basically, all you're going to want to do is go to this website, sign up for free, click this link here. I will provide it below. And then once you click on it, it's going to take you to the developer portal, and it's going to give you your API key that you'll need to access this data. Once you have that, go ahead and paste it in your Python project folder, and then import it into the project where we're going to be working with this data. So you're going to want to pip install Stocksera as well. Just go to your terminal and your command prompt and pip install it. That way you'll be able to import the library, which makes it a little bit easier to work with. So let's go ahead and start doing this. So let's go ahead and go to the terminal. So I've already gotten started with this, and what I'm doing basically is I have a main class here. This is our main class. This is our first function that I've made called borrowed shares. It gets the amount of available borrowed shares for a ticker, and it's provided by the Stocksera API. So I'm going to walk you through the process of how I made this and how you're able to utilize it. So the client right here, this is actually the client from Stocksera. So as far as imports, you just import Stocksera by just write import Stocksera, and then you're going to want to import your Stocksera key, and then that's the only argument that you're going to pass in to the Stocksera client, which can be defined as self.client equals Stocksera.client with a capital C, with your API key as the only argument. If you didn't want to have to mess with the class, then you can just pass it in this way with client equals Stocksera.client. Outside of the class, same thing, pass in your API key, and you're good to go. And this right here is actually, this holds all of the functions from here. So we're not going to use this as of right now. So I'm going to take this and just erase it. And we're going to go ahead and look at all the functions that are available. So whenever we use client dot, these are all the functions that we have available to us from Stocksera. We have borrowed shares, daily treasury, earnings calendar, failed to delivers, the house, inflation, insider trading, IPO calendar, Jim Cramer, lightning round, I believe, or Jim Cramer picks, jobless claims, latest insider summary, low float, market news, market summary, news sentiment, retail sales, reverse repo, SEC filings, Senate, short interest, stock volume, stock twits, subreddit, trading halts, WSB mentions, and WSB options. Those are all of the functions that are available. So essentially what we're going to do is go down every single one of these, make custom functions for them, and then make custom data classes for them so that we can utilize this data very easily. So the next one we're going to do is client dot. We're just going to go down the list, daily treasury. So to see the data available, we're just going to do days equals 1 just to make the data less on the screen. But to see this, all we have to do is we're just going to do daily treasury equals client.daily treasury, and then we're just going to print for I in daily treasury 0, because we only want the first object so we can get all the attributes, print the items. And then that's going to let us know what the different items are. Oh, since I only have one day selected, it's not going to let me do the 0 index. Have to run that again. Why did it not print? Let's do 10 days. Okay, so 10 worked, because I don't think today's updated yet. So this is the return data, and we can see here, let me move this to the side so you can see everything. I might need to zoom in a little or close this out of the way. There you go, that's better. So these are all of the data attributes that we're going to need. Date, closed balance, open balance, amount change, and percent change. If we wanted to just easily make a data frame, like for spreadsheet analysis, all you have to do is df equals pd.dataframe, and you're going to have pandas installed on your machine to do this, which is just pip install pandas. Daily treasury. Then we're just going to print the data frame to the terminal. Or actually, I'll save it to a CSV so you can see it. df.to underscore CSV. And then we're going to name our file daily treasury.csv. And then when we print this, it should save the CSV file for us. we're going to go look at now. And there you go. There's the data right there, saved in a nice CSV format, just from that little tiny bit of code. So back to the SDK file. So that's how to do it to a CSV file. We're going to actually parse all the attributes that we just saw, which are closing balance, opening balance, amount change, percent change, and daily or moving average. So I'm just going to paste all those right here so I can easily work with them. And then to define them, all we have to do is date equals I with a capital D, date for, oh, I'm sorry, if I, because we want to make sure we're handling for none, is not none, else none for item in daily treasury. We basically just copy this process for the rest of the attributes. So we have close balance, so close balance, we have open balance, we get that off of there, open balance, we have amount change, and we have percent change. And then we can just double click this. Actually, we have to do it like this. Percent change with capital P, capital C. Then we have to do amount change, and then amount change, and then open balance, date. We already had that one in there, right? And then close balance. And close balance. That's it. Now we have everything we need to get all of these data attributes. So if I printed these, and let's do 100 days. But I think that's the default. Yeah, the default's 100. So if I didn't pass anything in here at all, it would still be 100 days. That's the default argument. So we're just gonna print the date and just see what returns in our terminal. So we have all of our dates. Should be 100, or at least however many dates it has available from the last 100 days. So we have that. Good to go. Now, how do we access this a little bit easier with, let's say dot notation? If we wanted to reuse all of this code later, that's where the data class is going to come in. So what we can do, copy all this over, go to our file, and I've already made the data class for this. I deleted it for this video, that's right. But let me just go ahead and make it real quick. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to do class treasury balance. And then we're going to pass in initialize the class self data. And then we just paste this in. Just like that. We need to add self in front of all of the attributes so that we're going to be able to access it by dot notation. And this is critical to building the SDK. Self, just like that. And we're just going to replace this with data. Just like that. And that's basically all you have to do. That is it. Now we have our data class ready. We go back to the main file, Stocksera SDK, and we can erase this now, all of this. Erase this, and this, and this. And we can make our second function now. So we need to import the treasury data from treasury, import treasury balance. Now to make the second function, it's very simple now. Def treasury balance self symbol. Actually, we don't even need a symbol here. We just need days. And we're going to put the default as 100. And then all we have to do is treasury balance data equals treasury balance, our class that we made. And then within this, we just pass in our SDK, self dot treasury balance. And then symbol, which is data. I'm sorry, which is days, not symbol. And really, we don't have to pass in anything at all if we didn't want to. So pretty cool. That's one way to do it. But the way we're going to do it is, since we have self.client already defined within this code, all we have to do is reference ourself as the client. So self.client dot treasury balance. We actually may have to do self. Let's see if this works. Then return treasury balance data. So to utilize these functions now, all we have to do, I'm going to erase this for now. Actually, I'm just going to comment this out. So let's say we're in a different file. Let's go to another file. I'm going to make a new file, test. Let's say we're doing some other project, testing.py, and we want to utilize this SDK we just made. So we say from, in my case, SDKs dot Stocksera SDK dot Stocksera SDK import Stocksera SDK. And then we initialize it as Stocksera equals Stocksera SDK client, which we have to define as the Stocksera client. So import Stocksera client equals Stocksera dot client, and then we have to from config import your Stocksera key, and then we just pass that in. Now the difference in using this version of this SDK versus the one that they provide is that it saves you a bunch of work if this was already implemented, which I will make this available to the public so that everyone can use it. But basically, we've initialized Stocksera. Actually, we can't name it Stocksera. We have to do, let's do Stocksera SDK, all lowercase. And now we can directly access those functions that we just made. So Stocksera SDK dot, we have borrowed shares and treasury balance. Now the difference is, I'm going to show you side by side. Symbol was going to be, let's just do Apple for now. The difference is, define this as SDK borrowed shares, and then we're going to do the regular one from Stocksera. Borrowed shares, no SDK equals Stocksera dot, client dot borrowed shares. So I guess they did ticker. So that's the difference, right? Let's see what the output difference looks like when we're trying to access variables. So if I wanted to access the variables from the default Stocksera, I couldn't use dot notation. You see how nothing's shown up? But if we use the one we just made, SDK borrowed shares, now all of the data automatically shows up and makes it real easy to work with. So let's say I wanted to know how much is available for Apple. That's all I would have to do. Available shares equals, and then we just print this. Available shares for Apple. Uh-oh. And sometimes you may have to put a dot in front of this, like this, in order to be able to use it in a different file. So let's try that again. And there you have it. There's the output of borrowed shares available for Apple. And that's dot notation for you. So let's go back to the SDK file now. That was how to use it outside the file. I'm going to go ahead and remove these dots here. So now we're going to do another one. And same exact process for every single function. We're just going to do client dot. Let's do the next one, which is the earnings calendar. So earnings equals, or earnings data equals client dot earnings calendar. And this is where some helper functions can come in. I'm going to import some helper functions from my configuration file, which is today's string and 30 days from now string, to easily pass into this. So from date from equals today's string, date to equals 30 days from now string. So it's going to be querying the next 30 days of earnings. So for I in earnings data, 0 print I, and then that's going to print all of the data to the terminal that we need. And these are all of the data variables that we need. So it's the same exact process as before. We're just going to erase this and use some list comprehension to get all of this parsed. So date equals I date if I date is not none, else none for I in earnings data. Same thing for the rest of them. And now we can just double click and copy paste. Double click, copy paste. EPS actual, revenue estimated. We have revenue actual. We have the year. And sorry if you hear my kids in the background, they're being loud today. And then we have market cap. So now we have all of these defined. So what do we do now? We just take all this, we can remove it from the file. We're going to head over to the earnings.py now and do the same thing. Class earnings, define, initialize self, data, paste all the data, change this using find and replace, earnings data replaced with data, just like that. And we should be good to go. We just need to add self again in front of all of the different data attributes. That's basically it for the whole thing. That's all you got to do. Is just the same process, and then you have a whole SDK built with dot notation. Makes it very easy to reference and utilize later down the road when you want to utilize this coding for maybe Discord or something like that. So now we go to the main file again, and we can define our third function. So def earnings, or let's do upcoming earnings self, and then from date equals today string, to date equals 30 days from now string. And we have to actually make sure that we utilize those dates here in this function call. So earnings ticker, or let's just do upcoming earnings data equals, we have to import our earnings class from earnings, import earnings. And then the same process, earnings self dot earnings, and then we're going to do our from date equals from date, to date equals to date. Just like that, and then we return the earnings data. And now we can do the same thing down here. We can do upcoming earnings equals, let's define our SDK here. Let's do SDK equals Stocksera SDK client. And then we can do SDK dot earnings, upcoming earnings. And then we can easily access the attributes again with dot notation. Earnings. And we have all of our dot notation attributes here. So pretty cool stuff. Makes it very easy to work with data like this whenever you have dot notation to work with, because you can just literally hit dot and it all appears for you. So yeah, hopefully this helps somebody. And I will be building this entire SDK with this format to where you can easily utilize this stuff. So there's that. So if you want to just wait until I'm done with that, then you're free to do so. It'll be on my GitHub later whenever I get finished with it. But for now, hopefully this helps someone at least learn how to get some of this data and work with it.